okay, next question for you, Jonathan, is Tom Brady 2010 Brett Favre? Because he is looking very 2010 Brett Favre. And again, mention the win by PJ Walker in Carolina. Congratulations to PJ Walker. I mean, those XFL fans who watch the Houston Roughnecks and PJ Walker dominate the entire XFL and should have been champions if not for COVID. Remember how good PJ Walker was. So no joke, but Tom Brady putting up 3 points against the Carolina Panthers is the most 2010 Brett Favre stuff I have ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that there can be no better perfect comparison than this one, because you look at how this whole thing has played out for Tom Brady coming off of a career year last year. Everybody thought, oh yeah, this is simple. Just plug him right back into that offense that's going to look really extremely good. He retired in the offseason, just like Brett Favre did, was coaxed out of retirement either by himself, like Tom Brady was, or by teammates like Brett Favre was. Now struggling to look like the same guy who had that career year last year. Oh, and there was a coaching change mixed in there just at different points for both of those two guys in their respective years in this comparison. This comparison fits the bill. I think the team around Tom Brady, though, should be better than the team that was around Brett Favre at the time, because the team around Brett Favre just got injured. They were still nursing a bunch of injuries from that Saints NFC Championship game for various reasons that we don't need to get into here and bring up those old wounds again.
Various very legal reasons, very
no
much
pun
within the
intended
bounds of the game. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is a good comparison, that these two guys, these two seasons are very comparable, because Tom Brady just doesn't look like the same guy. I don't know the analytics behind it like you probably would, but it just seems like that everything there is a complete struggle right now. They lose to Pittsburgh, they lose to Green Bay, teams that they shouldn't lose to if you want to go in and win the NFC, a very winnable NFC. Like they should run away with the NFC South, because the rest of that division is just garbage right now. But they're not doing it because they can't get wins against teams like Carolina right now, and that's embarrassing.
Okay, I've got an idea.
Okay.
Take the NFC South and make it NFL Europe. That's your relegation. You have a team in Germany, you have whatever. So the division that plays the worst has to go be over there and earn their way back into the NFL, because the NFC South is being sent to Germany. I mean, it just... Joe Burrow goes for 480, and it could have been more against Atlanta. Carolina gets their first win of the year. I mean, that division is an abomination. That we were talking about what's going to win the North. What's going to win the South? 6, 7? I mean, the Tampa Bay should still win the South and go into the playoffs at like 8 and 9, or maybe even worse than that. But I don't know who else is catching them as bad as some of those other teams really are. The other thing I thought of is, what if Tom Brady retired midseason and it was actually good for them? I mean, the way that not only is he playing poorly, and the numbers weren't that horrific as in like his PFF grades, but the offensive statistics were that horrific going into it. So it was kind of suggesting that maybe he was throwing the ball okay still, but they were not moving the offensive needle at all, which is very clear. And again, kind of with these old quarterbacks, it does come down to offensive line in part, because it's not like Brady or Rodgers can really move the way that they used to. And so, I mean, offensive line always matters no matter what, but probably matters to Brady's career more than it ever has at the ripe age of 46. Although his face reflects a 17-year-old. So that's normal. It's very so normal. Very normal stuff going on with that guy. I mean, 2 weeks ago, he's comparing himself to being shipped off to the military. And, he just looks like he wants nothing to do with this. I don't know why he came back. I think that, though, if you were to have guessed, Favre and Brady would have been two dudes that you guessed will only retire when their carcass is dragged off the field. Yeah. Like that's just who they are. That they're not go out on top guys like, oh, well, that worked out well for me. We'll see y'all later. That's not who they are. But this is really shocking, as bad as it looks, considering how well he played last year, and he deserved to be an MVP consideration. And I guess just losing that game to the Rams must have driven him insane. But yeah, this is a bad version, and just hilarious that they could still win the division as bad as it is. But it is reflective of that. I think you make a great point that the 09 supporting cast for Brett Favre was absolutely phenomenal. A great offensive line, good receivers. And what was it? Sidney Rice ends up having surgery on his hip, so he doesn't come back. And that
contract dispute.
That right. Oh, right. The contract dispute. And that just impacted him a lot. It just impacted him a lot. And then the injuries, Favre never really recovered. It was a last minute thing. His heart wasn't in it. There's a lot of similarities there with Tom Brady. And I really will be curious. I mean, because his wife has already kind of publicly said, which, wow, imagine if your wife could do this. Like, what would your wife say publicly about you? Mine would be thrilled that I cleaned the house while she was calling Gophers Penn State for national radio. So I'm in good standing for her press conference. For her, how's my husband doing press conference? If the paparazzi came up to her in Happy Valley and said, do you know what is your husband cleaning the house at home? How did he do in the garage? What'd you think of that? Well, I thought that there were a few things he still could have thrown out in the garage, but overall it's a fairly good game. I mean, that's got to be unbelievable for your relationship, right? I mean, I don't know how you deal with that, but I really think it would be better for him and the team if he just said and this is, again, could be just like with the Packers, an old takes exposed that blows up in my face, but there's just no path. I just don't see any path to where these things change. These guys, they're not 37 anymore. The magic is gone, I think, for both of them.
Yeah, it looks like a Tom Brady that would rather be the owner quarterback of the Miami Dolphins at this point in time instead of the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have gone through a coaching change. It seemed like an unnecessary coaching change because Bruce Arians still had it seemed like, getting the Buccaneers to a Super Bowl a couple years ago and keeping that fire alive there. But you get, I guess, the age of Bruce Arians and understand the switch there. But it also just seems like a Tom Brady that's got a lot on his plate off the football field, and we know how much that can affect people, even if they are one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, like Tom Brady has been for most of his career. So yeah, it just seems like this, and it's also weird. What a weird world that we're saying that a Blaine Gabbert-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers might be better than a Tom Brady-led Buccaneers at this point. Also, Blaine Gabbert being 33 is blowing my mind that he's been in the league that long and he's our age now.
I was thinking Kyle Trask would be the guy, but maybe, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what he looks like. I've never seen him play. Well, let's see. Jonathan's wife, how'd you do today? Well, Jonathan was very patient for the kid's birthday party. And
hey, I got the backyard cleaned up finally after 6 years. So
thought he dealt with the other families well at the party and the in-laws. And, I give him strong scores. We still got some things to work on with small talk with Jonathan, but
no comment.
We'll go forward.